Good evening. Welcome to Left, Right and Centre. I'm Vishnu Shom. On the program this evening, AI's transformative power is rewriting humanity's future. But can we trust it? From decoding medical reports to reshaping jobs, AI's potential is thrilling, yet biases in programming and machine learning expose risks. At a landmark summit co-chaired by the Prime Minister and the French President Macron in Paris, global leaders tackled governance, equity and sustainability in AI adoption, also digital infrastructure. On the show, will AI unite or divide us? We've got those who are actually participating in this huge international AI summit. But that's just been part one of the Prime Minister's travels. Next up on the show, the Prime Minister will now head to Washington, where he'll meet President Trump for the first time since Mr. Trump came to power for a second time. What's on the cards for the future of the relationship at a time when the US has begun imposing tariffs and is aggressively deporting illegal migrants, including Indian nationals, in chains and on board military aircraft? And later on the show, freedom of speech versus crass comedy that potentially breaks the law. Our discussion around comments made by the comedian Ranveer Allabadia. He believed that these were jokes. He's not a comedian, he's actually a YouTuber. He did believe that they were jokes, but in fact ended up offending many. He finds himself in a great deal of trouble. FIRs have been filed, inquiries have been launched. On the show tonight, are there limits to free speech? Does comedy mean anything goes? But still, do we have to be worried about censorship? And what about past instances when comedians have been politically targeted? So it is a complicated debate, but that's coming up later on the program. The headlines, still no word on who. Well, at a landmark summit co-chaired by Prime Minister Modi and hosted by the French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris, global leaders tackled governance, equity and sustainability in artificial intelligence. AI, remember, is very much the future, also digital infrastructure. India and France also have a crucial strategic partnership. We'll be talking about that in a moment, but first let's listen in to what the Prime Minister had to say. For joining us, the Prime Minister now heads to the United States. We'll talk about that in a little while, but I'd like to spend a little bit more time talking about AI and the significance of this summit. I'm now joined by Ananay Batra, founder and CEO of ListNR.ai, and Paramdeep Singh, co-founder of Shorthills.ai, joins us as well. Thank you all very much for being with us.
That we're addressing it.
Paramdeep Singh, in terms of what India is looking to do with AI, the Prime Minister did say that India is looking at our own large language model, perhaps going into the future. How is that something that would benefit many in our country?
See, given the diversity of sort of India, it makes sense to start developing our own large language model. So there are two aspects to it. One, diversity. That means focus on our own people and develop our own large language model. The two is dependence on an outside party to provide us with the large language models. So AI as such is going to be sort of a key differentiator as we move forward. And there it would be absolutely necessary to be self-reliant as far as AI models are concerned. Now, till about a few weeks back, it was very difficult for us to say that we were going to develop our own large language model that would make sense. But you see DeepSeek. So given the sort of amount of compute they've spent on developing a model that has really changed the game. So I definitely believe this has opened up the arena where India again has a good chance at developing something that's going to change the world. Now, given our talent and again sort of the compute requirement not being so large, I think India has a real shot at developing something that's going to change the world.
Which is what?
So for example, let's say right now, if you are dependent on, let's say, OpenAI, which is a closed model, you have practically no control over the kind of information that it has and the information that it can give out. Now, having our own language model would give us the ability to sort of control the overall outcome that comes from the model. Now, whatever application you build on top of that model would really be sort of the underlying layer for that model, for that application has to be the large language model. So that control or whatever you want to do with that has to be with you. That cannot be with an outside party.
Right. All right. But I'd like to thank you all very much for being with us. Well, the Prime Minister has been in France. He now moves to the United States.
Business leaders, policymakers and ministers come together at the NDTV Profit Conclave 2025. The blueprint for Viksit Bharat. February 18th, 10 a.m. onward.